Everybody, thank you for attending. I'm glad I was allowed to present here for the library presentation series. My name is Jaime Reborn. I am a student at the University of North Texas, and I am working on my doctorate in learning technologies, and this presentation is a part of the requirements to complete my portfolio, and then I will present my portfolio to my committee at a later date. My topic is going to be over the use of artificial intelligence in education. It's a topic that is related to my degree and my dissertation. My dissertation is going to be about the use of artificial intelligence in setting up an extraterrestrial learning environment. Okay, all right. So, artificial intelligence, what is it? Merriam-Webster defines artificial intelligence as the branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of behavior in computers. Now, this is kind of a modern definition and kind of a textbook definition. There are other definitions of AI. Basically, my definition is artificial intelligence is something that can simulate interaction with a human being so that a human being can interact with a non-human and communicate or get a task accomplished. Now, artificial intelligence from a historical standpoint, human beings have always been, for some reason, fascinated by artificial intelligence. Now, I wrote Hephaestus Robots, or Hephaestus Golden Robots. It's a story about Hephaestus building some metal machines. These are Greek stories, but actually the term robot wasn't used until much later, so I should have changed that, but neither here nor there now. And Pygmalion and Galatea. If you don't know those terms, you've seen the influence of Pygmalion and Galatea in lots of contemporary movies and books and plays, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But Pygmalion was depending on which version you read, he was a man who built a woman. He was a sculptor, so he built a woman sculpture, and then he fell in love with the sculpture, and it came alive. And that story has permeated throughout history. So you've seen it in the movie My Fair Lady, which was based on the play Pygmalion. There was a movie called Her with Joaquin Phoenix, Simone with Al Pacino. Ex Machina was a real popular film. So a lot of these films trace their history back to the same stories that we've been talking about with artificial intelligence and popular culture for many, many centuries. A lot of these go back. Now, and then of course you have like the new stuff, like The Matrix, that kind of took it up to a new level. Okay, so AI programming concepts. Once we went from just talking about it to actually trying to use it, that was a game changer. So Gottfried Leibniz, he basically wrote about the concept of being able to take ideas from humans and put them into machines. But it was just a concept, some people thought he was kind of crazy. Charles Babbage, in the 19th century, the English government asked him to work on a machine called the difference engine. And they paid him a lot of money to work on it. And it was a big calculator, and it was a big step forward in technology. Now, Babbage and the government, they ran into some problems, and Babbage started working on the analytical engine, which used punch cards, and the punch cards could actually program the machine. It could store information. And so Babbage never quite finished a good model of the, let me go back, sorry. Go back to that one. Babbage didn't quite finish a good working model of the difference engine, and somebody else did perfect it years later. Now, the big part of this is that the government got involved. And so when the government got involved, that standardized some of the, the tools and materials that were needed to use it. But Babbage went on to get his bigger fame from the analytical engine. Ada Lovelace, she, the daughter of Lord Byron, she was also a mathematician. She came up with some ideas to program the analytical engine. Now, she's considered the first programmer, even though she didn't actually write a conventional program like we see today, because she wasn't actually working on a real analytical engine. She just came up with the ideas for it, but it stuck. And so that helped to push computer technology forward a great deal. Now, Alan Turing, this is in the 20th century. Alan Turing he was responsible for coming up with a way to test how valid an AI technology was. Okay, so that's some of the history and how AI evolved. Now, the evolution of computers themselves. So, most modern computers that we consider modern started out using machine language, just zeros and ones. Everything had to be programmed in binary code, zeros and ones, so that the computer could understand them. Now, and people use a lot of, we use punch cards back in those days, and punch cards have been around for a couple hundred years. Now, we got to assembly language. Assembly language is where we could use alphanumeric terms, letters and numbers, to program computers. Now we are using high-level languages, and where you can actually type in English or other languages and get the computer to understand you. So we've come a long way, and it is this evolution of the languages which has helped move AI forward to where we are now. In 2016, there was a professor, Dr. Gold. He decided to use an AI modeled after IBM's Watson, the one you see all the commercials for. And it did fairly well. A lot of the students didn't know that it was actually an AI, but some of them guessed. He recorded all the information, and some guessed maybe it was, Jill was usually pretty efficient in answering questions, had some trouble trying to, like when people rephrase things, didn't quite come across. Now, but the issue here, after this started permeating through the academic community, and there was a concern about the ethics of using AI in education. Should we have AI teaching students? Some people may have a problem with that. Can an AI actually replace a human instructor? I don't think so, but that's my school of thought. But we are having more and more online classes in school. There are a lot more programs now that are being developed because we have a lot more non-traditional classrooms today than we did just a few years ago. And should AI be used to simulate human behavior? So this one here is not just about education, but if you think about it, in popular culture, which is why I gave you the history of what we've seen in the past, a lot of us think in terms of AI from a standpoint of the AI simulating human behavior. But is that what we really want? Do you want your computer to have an attitude with you? Do you want your computer to say, I'm not working today because, you bought another computer? Let me go back. So that is an issue that we should consider. With AI, we have to make sure that our proverbial reach does not exceed our grasp. So now, possible uses for AI in education. One of the obvious things would be like automatic grading of papers. Now, that's already going on, and it's improving. I've taught for a number of years, and a lot of, you take the test online, and they'll send you back the grade, and it'll tabulate the student's grade for you. The detection of trends. Like if there is a software or if there is a certain behavior that's going on with the students, the computer can calculate that information and give you back data based on trends that you can use to go forward, like if a certain software is working properly or people aren't using that software. You know, if a student is doing poorly on a certain test. Tutoring, AI tutoring, we are getting to a point where like chatbots are, you know, programs that you can talk back and forth to. Go back. You ask a chatbot a question, and it'll give you a pre-programmed answer, and it can adjust and modify. These are getting very, very common. Sometimes, anybody ever seen these on the websites that you go to? Sometimes they'll be talking to you, you'll ask a question. Well, they're getting better and better and better. And that's kind of what Jill was. It's kind of what Jill Watson was. But again, in the back to the Jill Watson thing, none of the students knew that Jill Watson was an AI. And in that case, so some of the students were saying, hey, I'm paying money to be assisted by people, and you give me this AI. So that was the problem. VR simulation. AIs can help with VR simulation, virtual reality simulations, where you don't have to actually be somewhere to learn something. Like you have virtual, not just virtual classrooms, but you can have virtual surgeries. You know, virtual tours in history, like you can go back in time and see how Washington, D.C. looked in the 1800s. And research assistants. An AI can cross-reference a lot of information, and you know, already we've had like, you know, spell checkers and stuff like that, but a research assistant can help a great deal, and AI is being used to do that because an AI may catch a whole lot of issues that human beings will not. Sometimes, you know, you go through a paper that you typed and you just miss stuff, but the AI, and then like we have like programs in college called like Turn It In, where it checks for plagiarism, where when you turn your paper in to make sure that it doesn't look like somebody else's or isn't somebody else's. So there's more and more of those that are coming. Now, AI efficiency and effectiveness. One of the things to remember, particularly in education, is that we're trying to get information across to students. So we can't focus so much on the technological goals of AI that we miss the human goals that we have for the students. So you can build an AI that may work exactly the way that you want. Like one example you see like is a call tree. When you call into a business or you call into a school and you start going through the call tree may work exactly like it's intended to work, but that doesn't mean you're gonna like it. And so one of the things that is recommended here is that the people that are building and developing the AI, that they make sure that they solicit feedback from the students or whoever the end users are, in this case students, teachers, and everybody that will be involved in the academic environment. You want to make sure that you're meeting their goals. It's not just for some programmer to design an AI to say, hey, I'm a great programmer because I designed the AI. It has to meet the goals of the students. And you see this a lot when you have administrators and sometimes teachers that will they'll adopt technology. They'll adopt technology for the school or for the class that they haven't checked. It's just something that they like. And so sometimes that's not the best recipe for success. Okay, that is my presentation. Any questions?